going to be showing this console next. So this console panel is a JavaScript console. It plugs into the JavaScript environment of your page, and there are two ways you can view this. So right now I'm viewing this in the full screen console mode. I can also view the console underneath another tool, which is more commonly how you do it. So and most likely under the Elements tab. So if I open the Elements panel here, I can either open the console by hitting this toolbar button here, or I can just press Escape to get a console. And one of the cool things about the console is that it implements the Firebug console command line API. So that lets you do things quite easily. So for example, if I was trying to select this node right here, and I wanted to do that in my JavaScript, I would have to write something like document.get element by ID, and then I'd have to type this long ID in sites-page-toolbar, and hopefully I type that all right. And that gives me the node. But using the Firebug command line API, I can just do $0, which is a lot easier, and hit enter, and then I get that node. So there's all these shortcuts. If you're not familiar with this API, it's definitely worth taking a little time to get to know. I think that's all that I want to say about the console. So we'll come back to this a bunch more later as well. Yep.
So let's say that there's like a comic connection or something that's basically a streaming stream.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that Chrome doesn't display that very well. Recommendations of how to kind of debunk what's happening there.
How do you mean it's not displaying it very well?
It seems like in Firefox sometimes that you'll see that the stream is open and then it's continually getting longer and it seems like that kind of going on, at least when it's there. It would be really awesome to kind of be able to watch that data come in, but that would be awkward, I don't know.
Well, so there are a couple ways you could do that. You could do it under the Resources tab. And you should see it in the timeline as you're watching it. You can also use the timeline and record your page, and you'll also see it show up there. The timeline, which I'll show later, will give you very detailed information. So you can actually see, you'll be able to see the resource loading. You'll be able to see any JavaScript events that are associated with it. I haven't tried either of these with comment type of interaction though, so I'm not sure how well it'll work, but it's worth giving it a shot at least.
Okay, it's just something that I think is lacking in a lot of browsers now.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be to try out the resource and timeline panel, and you'll see how I use the timeline panel a little bit later. If those don't work out, submit a feature request for us, because I'm not sure it's something that we've worked on too much.
Yeah, like Twitter's
resources, like streaming video, will it monitor the streaming content?
I believe in resources it will. It definitely will in timeline if you do it while you're recording. We can actually try it in resources here though. So let me close this console. So I'm going to reload the page, and I think there's some videos on here. Let's start playing this video. Yeah, so.
Is the RTSP real-time?
Oh. No, yeah, it's loading resources, so.
So loading and streaming.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about that particular protocol. All right, let me move on to my use cases here. Running a little low on time, so I'm going to start with the debugging JavaScript use case. And for this, I am going to open a component from the Clojure library. So curious how many of you guys are familiar with Clojure? Oh wow.
Are you talking about
We were talking.
No, I'm talking about Google Clojure, yes. So this consists of the Clojure compiler and the Clojure library.
We were talking.
Oh, you did? Okay, awesome. Yeah, so Clojure, probably for those of you that aren't familiar, is Google's JavaScript framework. It's similar to jQuery or YUI. It's actually used in a ton of Google products, including Gmail, Google Maps, Google Docs, I believe. So this is one UI primitive from the library. It's an autocomplete component. And this particular demo is a Tom Cruise film finder, which is quite useful. So for example, I can put the focus in this search box here, and I'll type in the letter C, and it should give me a cocktail and the color of money. This data is actually coming from Google Sets, so it's not that pristine. For example, someone spelled cocktail wrong here. If I type in the letter D, I should get stuff like Days of Thunder, which I get here. So let's see what debugging this page would look like. So I'm going to go to the scripts tool. And this is made up of a lot of different JS files. The one that I'm interested in, I believe, is called autocomplete.js. And I'm interested in I want to find the output function, the function that actually outputs the suggestion UI. And it's called something like render rows, I think. Yeah, so this is it. So here's our line where we are actually outputting our UI with suggestions in there. So I'm going to go ahead and set a breakpoint here. And then I'm going to go back to my interface, and to be consistent here, I'm always going to type the letter C. So I'm going to type in a C here, and the debugger is going to pause the script execution there. So I said before I was going to talk more about the instrumentation that the debugger was going to be giving me here. So that's what I'll do now. So first I have a category of watch expressions. I'll show you how you can use this later. Next we have the call stack, which is the actual JavaScript frames that show us how we got to where we are. So if I move down the call stack, I can see the functions that were called to arrive at this last function. I don't think this file is a especially good example, but the V8 engine can do some nice stuff with inferring the names of anonymous functions. So it'll give you a nice name in place of just saying anonymous or something like that. So after the call stack, we have all the variable information that's in scope, the local and global variables, which is super useful. And then we have information about where we set breakpoints and that sort of thing. So I'm going to remove this breakpoint and resume execution. So in order to actually debug this thing, I'm going to first have to break it. So let me do something stupid in here. One really cool thing that you can do with the Chrome DevTools that I don't believe you can do with anything else is that in addition to live editing the DOM, you can actually live edit JavaScript. So I'm just going to click into this JavaScript file here. You cannot. But in my next use case, I'll show you how I actually write extensions in the DevTools and just copy and paste out of it to save it. So I'm going to pretend that we were doing some testing early on, and we just hard-coded some Tom Cruise movie. And what was that? No, that's fine. Let's say I thought Tom Cruise was in Footloose. And yeah, that should be good.